I first have to check if everything is alright, if people can hear me and all of that. Because I haven't streamed in a while and I forgot everything about how to actually, I think everything works. I first have to check if everything is alright, if people can hear me and all of that. Because I haven't streamed in a while and I forgot everything about how to okay, I think everything is working now. Here we are after season 3 of House of the Dragon, and I have some thoughts that I want to share with everyone. Did you guys like this season? No judgment, just tell me. This is a happy place. Wait, can I run a poll here? I think I can run a poll. Did you like season 3 of Hot D? Yes. No. Whoa, someone is watching on TV. I was wondering if I should do this retrospective like episode by episode, but then I figured out that there's just no way I'm rewatching all of that. So I divided my notes into sections. And did that poll work? It's sending, okay. We need to wait a second for the poll to work. So I divided my notes into, you know, sections, various things I want to tackle. And I can't promise we will cover everything, especially because I will probably get distracted. But I will try to cover as much as possible, and maybe if we cannot finish everything today, then we will do like a part 2 stream. We will see. No, Daemon Targaryen, Daemon character is bad. He's supposed to George R. R. Martin's favorite Targaryen, and now he's something else entirely. Honestly, Daemon might have been my favorite part of this season, just because, like, watching him has me jump on walls, especially in the last episode. And you know, when they stormed King's Landing, I was like, yeah, that's what it's supposed to be. Hello, hug to you too. Okay, so the first section I want to tackle are structural issues that I think have been a problem for basically ever since season 1, but you can see the drop in quality between season 1, season 2, and season 3. And now season 1 actually looks good by comparison. I never thought I would say this, but that's just what happened. I'm not saying it's good, it's just much better. I said this in the video I released about halfway through season 3. There is no continuity with relationships, major events, and even the lore. There is this one scene, I don't remember which episode, where Ormond was going off at Corlys about Targaryens being savages, and people were like, does he know that Corlys is also Valyrian? And honestly, I don't think that the showrunners remember that Velaryons are from Old Valyria as well. And like, that's like illustrative of what I mean. The scenes in the show are really repetitive. It feels like the entire season is just one big setup for Templeton and everything else is filler. Precisely for that. You know, in Game of Thrones you had this, oh, people talking in rooms. But they were having like varied conversations. But here is just talking about the same shit all over again. Character deaths mean nothing. Like, does anyone in Templeton react to Otto's death? I don't recall. If they do, it doesn't really matter. More accidents and misunderstandings, most notably with Rhaena. We will talk about her separately because I just have I have no words at what the hell they were doing with Reina this season. I feel like they're just lazy and think action set pieces will be enough. Yeah. And unfortunately they are kinda right, because when you look at the ratings for the episodes, the battle episodes are the highest rated. And unfortunately with the battles, you also kind of need to turn your brain off to enjoy it. Like, I enjoy the fact out of Tumbleton, but if you think about it for like more than 5 seconds, none of this makes sense. Carlos forgot he's one of the surviving families of old Valeria. Yeah. And the funny thing is, when you look at season 1, in episode 8, I think it was, when Vaymont was doing that petition, he said something like, my family survived the doom. So in season 1 they remembered, but now they don't remember. Fast travel is back from Game of Thrones. Westeros, like, I feel like people forget that Westeros has like the general shape of Britain, but size-wise, it's closer to South America. And yet, one episode Alicent is in King's Landing, and the other she's in Harrenhal. And it's one thing to have a dragon and fly there, which would also reasonably take some time, but that's besides the point. But traveling by horse takes up some time. Carl is saying Daeron should be Lord Paramount of the Reach so the Tyrells don't exist. I didn't clock this. Right, because... yeah, exactly. Oh, or Ormond praising the Martells, even though the rich men have like a generational beef with Dorne. And I feel like fans in general are losing conviction in this show. There was Northern Honor during the battle. Where was Northern Honor during the battle? Them killing children kinda makes Stark fans hypocrites when they bashed Tywin when he ordered the taking of King's Landing during the rebellion. Well, technically these are not the Starks. Technically that was... fuck, was he? I think he was at Aston. Roddy the Ruin. That's besides the point. That's another issue. They introduced the characters from the books, but people don't even know who they are. Like, I know who Black Alley is. I know who is Roddy the Ruin, but that dude and she, they are not named. Like, the casual audience has no idea who the fuck these people are, and they think these are the Starks, when these are, like, you know, broadly the Northmen. And I feel like fans of the show are losing conviction. I'm lurking behind the shadows on my private Twitter and checking what the people who wear the show's long-standing blazers say. And this time they don't have the writer's strike that they can blame all of the problems on. I'm not gonna name any names because I don't want trouble. But the people who were the show's most fervent defenders and were ready to excuse every bad decision are now either openly calling bullshit, or they are suspiciously quiet, or they are like still low-key defending it, but not nearly as fervently. There was like a drop of people who like to act like questioning dumb decisions means you are some sort of a delusional stan with no media literacy or whatever other buzzword they're using. Or maybe I just blocked them all, I don't know. I'm not seeing any Mad King Queen shit for Ulf when he nuked Tumbleton, so I guess these titles only belong to women. Yeah, we will talk about this. Why was Helena sad this episode when a few episodes back all she wanted was to touch grass and Rhaenyra allowed her to? We will... I actually don't have a dedicated notes for this, but I guess we can talk about Helena now. So with Helena, George was right. I don't know why people are like, I see why she jumped out of the window. I don't. Because they did not like fully commit into one thing that set her off. because she was like suddenly depressed. And what I inferred from this was that Helena had a vision that Maynor, with whom she is pregnant, I suppose, that he will die. And she did not want to endure seeing him die, so she killed herself. But like, you also have another kid. And depending on who you ask, you will get a different response as to why she killed herself. And that's a problem. Because, yeah, maybe it was like a lot of things accumulating. But it's too vague to actually make sense as to why. Why exactly? What was like the final trigger that pushed her to do it? Because for me, it was like, okay, we need to have Helena die by the end of the season, but we kind of don't know how to do this, so we will like suddenly make her depressed. And that's it. The same people who defended season 2 are now upset when all this garbage was set up in season 2. Yeah, exactly. Is Alan a heretic for killing the High Septon? Shouldn't he be burned after the dance ends? I hope not. I don't know what they're doing with him and like this whole High Septon business. I'm not sure if I want to think about this because I think where this is leading, but why Alan of all people, I have no idea. Our father would have hated you. Girl, I don't think he even knew you and your brothers existed. That was so... Like, I never liked Helena, but this just set me against her to such a degree that I was like, just jump. Because I don't understand, why is everyone having so many grievances towards Rhaenyra, but no one else? It's like they blame Rhaenyra for all of their problems. Like, wouldn't your father hate Alicent for helping launch a civil war? Or your grandfather that robbed his favorite child off of the inheritance he was affirming and reaffirming for years? Wouldn't that make him hate them? Why would he hate Rhaenyra of all people? Was she treated quite well for a hostage of war? Obviously, she wasn't treated as well as the Myrrhynist child hostages. That's because Daenerys is a particularly kind ruler. Yeah, free Palestine, by the way. That's the thing. That's another thing about Helena. Like, nobody will call her entitled. There are people starving. There are people dying in this war, like women getting assaulted. But the problem is that this princess is not allowed to roam free in the castle when she's like the child of a traitor who should be rotting in the black cells. But Rhaenyra is so kind and like she's allowing her to walk around. I mean, not walk around, yeah, but she's allowing her like relative freedom within the castle. And suddenly she's not entitled, right? I was about Maelor. I was convinced because in the trailers for season 3, there was a scene of Helena giving birth. So I was like, Condal wrote Maelor into the story after all. But no, it was just some fuck-ass vision, and Maelor never existed in the show's continuity. And that really, Jesus, like, the gall you need to have to include the butterflies in your show after the author of the original books complained about toxic butterflies. Like, this is so childish. This is so immature. Or like there was this scene where Daemon found the god clocks, which is, by the way, they just reheating the Sons of the Harpy for whatever reason. A feast for traitors. Why would you reference, or when Jane Eyre said something like she was hiding between sheep and nettles? This is so petty and like not even fun type of petty. It's just immature. I haven't liked Helena since she helped Daemon out at the end of season 2 and had a complete personality shift while doing so. The Helena in that version is totally different from all her other scenes. Also, Condal making Nettles and Rhaena the same person, only for her role to be significantly reduced and made into an incompetent dragon rider, which she wasn't in the books. Yeah, we will talk about this. Rhaenyra isn't allowed to argue and says to the people who wrong her to fuck off, like, huh? What the fuck is she talking to Alicent? Like, bitch, your father and you created all this. Exactly. I hate the sprint that was promised plotline for Rhaenyra. This is meant to be about her being usurped for being a woman. We've lost the plot completely. All of this to fit into Mad Queen Daenerys, we will never rest. Yeah, okay, I guess we can move on so that we can actually, discuss. I'm just gonna say that I really feel like people are losing conviction in this show. Locals are not really into it either. And this is why negative reviews are important. Like these days, if you have any sort of criticism towards the multi-million-dollar franchise, you're labeled a mindless hater. But negative reviews exist to give the writers feedback on what to improve. And Condal's team didn't receive any. Like in season 1, it was pure glaze. In season 2, maybe there were like some negative reviews, but they closed their ears and didn't listen. So they got the idea that the direction they're going is correct. A companion piece to your Targaryen villain video. Starks are not the heroes. I don't care about this enough, sorry. Oh, and another thing. About Helena. There's a difference between ambiguity and complete vagueness for the sake of vagueness. But there's a difference between show don't tell and just expecting all of your audience to fill in massive blanks. Because they aren't even showing us anything. They explain what they were going for in those inside the episode featurettes or interviews, but none of this actually comes through on the screen. This is not Succession, when you do have to infer a lot, because Succession gives you tools to do that. And in Succession, the writers actually put that much thought into it. In House of the Dragon, they just go with first drafts, and you guys think that, I mean, not you guys. By you guys, I mean like fans of the show. Think about it way more than the writers. Is Darion that? I honestly don't rule out anything at this point. We had 8 episodes to flesh out 20 characters, and they thought it was a good idea to have a filler episode. How are we finishing the story in 8 episodes? I have no idea why they went with 8 episodes. I feel like, on one hand, more episodes per season is what they desperately need, but on the other, if we had 10 episodes, then we would have even more issues with pacing. It would be, once again, the same scene all over again, like Alicent meeting with Rhaenyra and exchanging nothing of substance. I don't know what's going on. Okay, the next section is Battle of the Galley. It bored me. I put it on 2 times the speed, I'm sorry. The author of the music, Ramin Djawadi, his heart is not in it. The soundtrack this season was not memorable at all. And the battle itself is forgotten so fast, it's almost like it didn't happen. Jace died for nothing. The whole purpose of the Galley was to make Rhaenyra blame Baela and Rhaena for what happened to Jace, nothing else, even though neither of them were responsible. It's like, did nobody tell Rhaenyra that it was the bolts from the crossbow that killed Jaehaerys? And that's the problem. Condal creates his own problems. Because Viserys and Aegon were not in the Galley because they are toddlers. They are like 2 and 4, I think. And that's because he changed the timeline and made them toddlers. Nobody told him that he has to do that. I don't know how they're gonna have Viserys captured and Aegon lose Stormcloak. it's yet another problem he created himself that he tried to solve. And he also destroyed Jace's character because in the book it is quite strongly implied that the sequence goes as follows. Aegon jumps on Stormcloud, goes back to Dragonstone and tells them that the Triarchy attacked. Jace goes on a dragon and he flies low enough to be taken down because he was probably searching for Viserys. And with Viserys and Aegon not in the galley, he's like, let me go and prove myself. Oh, and he's dead. And Jesus. Can we appreciate the infinite spawn rate of the Velaryon army throughout this season? Who are Viserys and Aegon, Rhaenyra and Daemon never mentioned them. Yeah, they've been traveling to Pentos the entire season, I suppose. Jace's death does not really reverberate as much as it should. I mean, me and my friend had a 5-hour Jace grieving session, but that's mostly because we projected book Jace onto show Jace. And the audience not familiar with the books, which is the majority, they had no possibility. Sorry, Jesus. What was that? I choked on my own saliva. They had no possibility of getting emotionally invested in him. And about the battle itself, people still talk about Blackwater or even Battle of the Bastards. Nobody talks about the Gullet. It left no emotional impact because there were just no stakes in it. And in times like this, you gotta miss Sapochnik. You can say a lot about him, but that man knew how to direct a battle. We could have had Sapochnik's Rook's Rest. At least he mocked even after dying. Yeah. There's so much this series doesn't show that ends up hurting it. The fact that Rhaenyra and Aegon never spoke at all is crazy. Yeah, exactly. Hello, just saying hello. No, that's fine. I don't know why they hyped up Sharak Kolohar so much last season when they died on episode 1. I guess they just hyped up Sharako because Abigail Thorne was playing. Jesus, I don't remember what gender that person was supposed to be. I think it was a woman, right? Or not? I have no idea. Maybe it was just non-binary slay. Hello, I actually enjoyed how in season 3 I absolutely had no idea what's gonna happen next, even though I read the book. I think it was better than season 2, but it still made some mistakes. Oh wait, that poll is actually working. It just didn't show to me on the chat. So far we have 81% votes for no and 19% for yes. I'm glad you guys feel safe enough to express your honest opinions. Yeah, and like, why wasn't Adam, Ulf, and Hugh at the gala? They were on a side quest to Harrenhal. What's up with that? Yes, Jay's grieving session mentioned it lasted 5 hours. I'm not joking. I'm gonna miss Harry so bad. He was one of the best castings. He was Jace. And there was one time I felt something while watching this season, and that was the scene of when Rhaenyra found out that Jace is dead. I rarely cry watching movies or shows, but I just bawled my eyes out at this. Emma is incredible. Have you watched the Vedic Origins of Dany video? Nope. Should I? Crazy now looking back at season 2, Jace just really did nothing but stand around and mock. Quick characterization. Also, why is Rhaena in a love triangle? I think that's Bela. Adam is one of my favorite characters in Fire and Blood, and he does nothing in the show. Yeah, I can guarantee you, because they will probably do Tumbleton Run 2 at the beginning of season 4, and because Adam is not a character, they're just gonna have him die, and nobody will feel anything, because these characters are not established. They are like pieces of cardboard. Like, what can you say about Adam as a character, his personality? What does he want? What motivates him? I guess he has a crush on Bela, and his brother also has a crush on Bela. It's actually crazy because Alan is more loyal by comparison, even though loyalty is the defining feature of Adam in the books. Also about Aemon doesn't kill Luke on purpose, doesn't burn the Riverlands, but he did burn Aegon on purpose. Also, the real reason for Vega being gone is the budget, lol. Yeah, exactly. And the budget decisions are also questionable because what was the purpose of that dragon scene in the previous episode? That whole house mad. I guess it was just to take Ship Stealer out of the equation, but like, why waste precious CGI money for this? Okay, let's move on to Rhaena. Because that actually pissed me off. As I said, Rhaena didn't kill Jace. He was killed by the Triarchy bolts, not her. But the problem is that if Rhaenyra blamed the Triarchy for this, then she would be blaming the Greens, and we cannot have that. And that's why they act like Rhaena killed Jace, because they need Rhaenyra conflicted with her own faction. And people defend this choice, saying that Rhaena doesn't do a lot when she's in the Vale. And like in the books. And maybe that's true. But why not invent something for her to do? I mean, I know why, because Ryan Condal can't write political intrigue. That's why he cut the genesis of the Greens and the Blacks. But if this is not an option, then why not give Rhaena... Why do you have to merge Rhaena with Nettles, of all people? Just have her claim Silverwing. Because nobody will tell me that Ulf is so important to the story. We could easily go with just Hugh. We do not need both of them. And like have Rhaena engage in battles or something. Like obviously we will not be able to have the betrayal, but you can write around it. And Rhaena doesn't even have Nettles' storyline. She does not tame Ship Stealer through intelligence and patience. He just lets her hop on her back one day. And when she tells Daemon that she fed him sheep, was there like a single scene of her feeding him sheep? That didn't happen. The writers just cannot separate their own show from the books. She also didn't distinguish herself during the gullet, unlike Nettles. What's your own personal theory for the show making Jane Arryn for being such an asswipe to Rhaena? I don't know. I guess they want to humiliate a black girl. That's my best guess. I think Rhaena will have a part at the God's Eye and think she's going to help Daemon. Maybe. Rhaena distracted Jace, you know, which I guess, sure, but this whole she killed Jace is extremely dumb. Like, yeah, exactly. Maybe she had like she did have like an indirect hand. But it was the crossbows that killed him. The time they gave to Rhaena should have been spent on developing Daeron, Ben and Black Alley, and the Muppet Tallies in season 2 and 3. Rest in peace, Ship Stealer. He was happy lounging around eating sheep. I think he's alive. Which is going to be weird because if we're gonna have mourning, will Rhaena be bonded to two dragons? Oh my god, did you hear this rumor going to make Gwaine marry Rhaena? I hope the fuck not. He's like 40 or something. I hope not. Nettles' life improved after she claimed Ship Stealer. Rhaena is just put through a season-long humiliation ritual. And that's the issue. She is blamed for the death of her brother. Jane Arryn kicks her out. She's stranded in the Vale. She's captured. Jane slaps her and exiles her again. Didn't we have a show where slapping a prince was grounds for executing someone? No, I guess that in House of the Dragon you can just slap around the daughter of a king. Consort. And after all of this, she loses her dragon and is put back on step 1. You cannot even call this an arc because there's no payoff. Nettles, in the book, Nettles is a dragon seed who claims a wild dragon sheep stealer. And people talk about Nettles because she was cut from the show and her storyline was given to Rhaena, the daughter of Daemon. And that's why people discuss it so much. Individually, the scenes between Rhaena and Daemon, the one in front of the cave and the other before the dragons started fighting, they were good. But what undermines them is that these were respectively the first and second time Daemon and Rhaena interacted in the show. Like, we are told, oh, Rhaena resents Daemon and Daemon ignored her. And we are told that. But this is like the first time it's meaningfully brought up in the show. That just doesn't work. Just like Rhaenyra and Aegon never had a single conversation in the show. They can't even be consistent with Rhaena. In episode, she says she's fine being lost without her loved ones, and then the next episode, she said she can't live like this. Yeah, exactly. That's true. That's why I made a video where I said that it's not only bad as an adaptation, as a standalone story without taking books into consideration, it's just not good either. I don't want to read that message because I feel like that's a slur I'm not allowed to say. Yeah, I thought Rhaena and Baela were Corlys's daughters or something. Rhaenyra and Aegon will have one scene at the end and that's all. Yeah. I also think that. How do you feel about the fear that Nettles isn't a dragon seed but just an ordinary girl, implying you don't need to be Valerian to ride a dragon? That's a risky question with a risky response. I don't buy it. Alright, there, I said it. I think Nettles was Valerian. This is not a popular opinion, but she is explicitly named as a dragon seed in the book, and there's never doubt cast on whether she is truly a dragon seed or not. She is just named a dragon seed. And I feel like people just cannot accept this idea that she's a dragon seed because she's black. For much the same reason, like, they just cannot conceptualize black Valerians, even though we have black Valerians in the books as well. Aegon the Unworthy had an affair with the Black Pearl of Bravos, and they had a bunch of kids. And sorry, I don't remember the names off the top of my head, but they're like canonically black Valerians, and George wanted to make the Valerians black. And you guys, you can take the Targs are white supremacists crowd for that. This is also why people say that Rhaena and Baela are Velaryon. When you base your entire understanding of A Song of Ice and Fire around hating the Targaryens, then of course you will reduce Nettles to a, bludgeon. Is that how you pronounce it? I don't know. A stick against Targaryen supremacy or whatever people call it these days. Not to her intelligence, not to her bravery, but to, oh my god, she only exists to prove these Targaryens wrong. And on some level, I'm glad that Nettles was cut. It spared us a lot of dumb discourse. And that's the issue. Blood and lineage based powers, that is just something that exists in fantasy and in the story as well. It's okay to not like this, but if you argue that it's just not a thing in the books, then you are beefing with what is explicitly written in the story. We can criticize this, but she is never denied to be a dragon seed. That's what I mean. I'm not against the theory of her not being Valerian because it kind of builds to the non-Targaryen characters can ride a dragon, like George R. R. Martin hinted in an interview. I honestly think Tyrion will be the only one, but I don't know. Okay, so here's my own personal theory for Jane Eyre. It's kind of what you said about how the show needs Rhaenyra to have conflict within her own faction. If Alicent is supposed to be written as duty and sacrifice, and the patriarchy made her like this, but you have plenty of other women on Team Black who fought for Rhaenyra. Think about it. Why would this show ever include a quote, "In this world of man, we women must band together"? It's because the only women Rhaenyra is allowed to be around are the ones plotting. They cut Rhaena, they retconned Elinda Massey into a lady in waiting. She was literally wearing regular might uniforms last season. They made Rhaenys into a passive-aggressive preacher. Yeah, I also think that. It's also crazy because in the books, Jane Eyre didn't like Daemon at all. Well, they seem to be like on decent terms, considering that he went to the Vale a couple of times. Even though in the show he literally killed Rhea Royce, and in the book the point of contention between them was precisely how he treated Rhea. Okay, let's move on from Rhaena and talk about Rhaenyra. So the evil stepmother trope is bad unless it's against black girls. Funny how that works. Funny how the tune has changed. In season 1, it's so good that they didn't make Alicent an evil stepmother, but when it's Rhaenyra, that's great. I have a theory about why Rhaenyra was written the way she was this season. Since season 2, or possibly even earlier, Ryan Condal has been obsessed with making people change sides. I'm actually gonna send a link in the chat where he talks about this. And by change sides, he actually means I want people to become Team Green. I've been following House of the Dragon Instagram, and every once in a while they were running polls about this, and Team Black, as in, are you Team Green or Team Black? And Team Black was always the vast majority. Wait, I think I have a screenshot that I can show. Can you see it? It's from September 2023, so it's quite old, but... Oh yeah, you can see it. So when he wants people to change sides, he actually means I want people to become Team Green. And at some point he realized this shift is not going to happen. No amount of whitewashing the Greens will do the trick, which, by the way, if we have time, we will talk about bias and whitewashing later. So he realized that he would not achieve this change sides by antagonizing Rhaenyra against the Greens. So instead, he had her beef with her entire faction. And also by amping up her indecisiveness and incompetence up to 11. And I can already imagine some smug fuck going, well, she was also incompetent in the books. Not to that extent, and she was not beefing with everyone in the Black faction, only with Corlys and the Dragon Seeds after the betrayal at Templeton. This is so that the audience is so frustrated with her that they turn against her. At the same time, they had Aegon on this self-discovery journey and gave him this aura-forming moment with Sunfire. And this is what had people go, I'm switching to Aegon now. Not everyone, but, you know, some people really were saying that. So ultimately, it feels like Ryan Condell sacrificed the entire story to have people switch sides, but he won. And there's also this problem that he invents his own story, but still has to meet certain plot beats from the book. So a whole lot of Rhaenyra's problems are because of the state Aegon left King's Landing, like the stolen gold issue. But even though it's the exact same situation as in the book, and it's not Rhaenyra's fault in the book, the show treats it as her fault and incompetence. And they are doing with Rhaenyra what they did to Daenerys in season 8. Stack impossible odds against her, and then condemn her as mad for having human reactions to it. You are not meant to see it that way, but when she told Daemon to go to Templeton and kill Daeron and Ormond, that was the most clear-headed decision she's made this season. People are becoming Team Green because Tom Glencairn is the best actor on this show and makes Aegon watchable, while so many of Team Black characters feel lifeless. I half agree, because I actually don't think Tom Glencairn is that good. But maybe I will talk about this a bit later. I think people are still Team Black for the majority just because Daemon. I still don't know why he has fans. Oops, I'm one of them. But also the damage they did to Aegon in season 1 was too much. It's fine if they show Rhaenyra being cruel to both sides, her enemies and supporters, but they only made her cruel only to her allies. I'm going to quote to you guys a series of tweets. I'm gonna send the link to each in the chat from account Ace with a Pencil, because it articulated so many problems with Rhaenyra, this show, and this show more broadly have. Let me read it out loud. Rhaenyra is being made into a religious zealot with a god complex because it is far easier to ask the audience to condemn that logic as opposed to her book characterization, which is she refuses to accept her usurpation on the mere premise that she is a woman. Her resistance against misogyny is lacking in fallacy, so the writers are twisting and contorting the story and characters as they please to try and make her argument as flawed and fucked up as the Greens' misogynistic justification for usurping her. And mind you, the writing has already tried its hardest to water down the Greens' misogyny as much as possible, instead playing up the misunderstanding of Viserys' final wishes and excluding the numerous times the book Greens explicitly state it's about Rhaenyra's gender. But they know, despite their best efforts to dance around and obfuscate the cause of the war, most of the audience still recognizes it's all about Rhaenyra being a woman. So they introduce a flaw of religious mania they feel the modern audience can get more on board with criticizing. What's really wild is they're having Rhaenyra believe she is the prince that was promised, just so we know that she's super wrong in that. But to this day, I've yet to see anyone present a coherent and compelling argument as to who the prince that was promised was supposed to be in the showverse. I 100% agree with this. I think you nailed it. Ryan Condal doesn't want Team Green to be just entertaining. You can enjoy antagonistic characters. He wants them to be right. Yeah. But there's still hope. There's still hope. I was really on my Doomer side. But then, if you have Instagram, go to the official Instagram page of House of the Dragon. And the 6th post should be the poster saying Queen of Bastards. I'm having it in front of my eyes now, and I'm gonna read the comments to you guys. Team Black, 780, almost 800 likes. Did people forget the scene back in season 1 when Alicent was told what Aegon did to that girl? Who would root for that? Team Black. The king should be the usurper. Almost 11,000 likes. HBO Team Green. Lol, it should be the usurper. The Aegon propaganda is so tired. I stand with my queen and refuse the rapist king. With this post, I am starting to think HBO is Team Green and I don't like it. The king, never. I will bring Aegon the usurper to my queen. Green propaganda. The only true Erda. Queen Rhaenyra. Take this down, we are not slandering our queen. It don't matter, Rhaenyra was named heir by the king her father. Hightower treachery. Rhaenyra. So, I don't know what to say. Ryan Condal, we have come to die for the Dragon Queen. And I'm gonna go for a short break. I will be back in 10 minutes, and for now, wait, can I put the music on? Oh, I accidentally deleted it. I'm back. Why is the music still playing? Hello? Can you hear me? Okay, it was only playing for me, the music. Okay, never mind. I'm back. Back and logged in. So, yeah, I think that's what I have to say about Rhaenyra, and I will also talk a bit about Rhaenyra when we discuss Aegon, which will be now. A guy named Rani on TikTok made a very good point about Aegon. I'm gonna send the link to his TikTok in the chat. Sorry about the loud music. He said that he's not buying what the show is doing with Aegon. Unlike the show, he didn't forget how Glencairn's Aegon was introduced. Just to remind you, in season 1, Alicent is informed that Aegon raped a servant. Alicent is not surprised, so this is probably not the first time it happened. An episode later, we find out that Aegon goes to child fighting pits, and some of these kids are his own bastards. And I think the concept for the character changed at some point, so they just never mentioned it ever again. Or they think that just because he went through serious physical injuries, he should be forgiven and is redeemed. And many people did forget about this, especially because the show is selective about what it wants you to remember. Recall how much of a focus is given to Rhaenyra consensually having children out of wedlock versus how much the show focuses on Aegon's crimes. Crimes against actual commoners, by the way. And Team Smallfolk nowhere to be found. I wonder why. Imagine if Rhaenyra burned some random soldiers with her dragon, or Daenerys for the matter. We would not hear the end of it. Literally 100 threads about mad queens with female hysteria before breakfast. I am absolutely not buying what they are going with Aegon, and I'm happy that some people unfortunately did buy it, but not everyone. And I 100% agree that this is just not something you can gloss over. Still weird how the universe forgot what Aegon was like in season 1. I guess he read some feminist literature off screen between seasons and realized rape and child fighting pits are bad. Team Smallfolk are just Team Green in disguise. Exactly. Yeah, I'm just not buying it. Because I don't think rapists can be redeemed. And assuming that they can, what has he done to redeem himself? Did he ever say sorry to the people he victimized? No, he did not spare them a single thought. It just he was burned by a dragon and is mad at everyone and reunited with his dragon, and now it's forgotten. Larys had that speech where he told Aegon that he sucks, but I'm not sure what we are meant to take from this scene, honestly, because there's a disconnect between how he's portrayed versus how the show wants you to feel about him. And yeah, noticed Ryan Condal gave an interview today. And again, link in the chat. And I'm gonna read the relevant part out loud. He said, I mean, the irony of this season is that Aegon, now not in the proximity of the throne, goes on this incredible character evolution, where he becomes a much more dimensionalized sorry, man who is more sympathetic and perhaps more suited to rule, and then Rhaenyra is in the proximity of the throne, is turned and altered and somewhat corrupted by being in its orbit. Sorry to all the guys in the chat, but you have it so easy. You don't have to do anything. You just have to go on like a trip in the woods and never address. He went on a trip in the woods, none of the shit he did was addressed, and all of a sudden he's away and he had a character journey and he's suddenly better suited to rule. On what basis? On what basis is he better suited to rule? Was it, how did they show it? Was he like learning governance? Or is it just, he reflected a bit and now he's better, and Rhaenyra took King's Landing and all of a sudden, the Iron Throne is sending like vibrations that corrupt her. I wouldn't even say that the throne is like corrupting Rhaenyra, because for the entire season it's the opposite. She is not acting decisively. She is trying the best she can. She's not ruthless. She, maybe in the last episode they tried to go this route, but it's just not working because what is wrong about what she did in season 8? What has shown in like her speech? I mean, I guess she killed the High Septon, but that was also weird. And like, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna be sad about the fate of the Seven being oppressed, in quotation marks. But like, what has Aegon did to show that he's better suited to rule? And here's my really unpopular opinion, that this one person who was in the chat who said that they like Tom Glencairn's performance. I don't. I'm not saying he's bad, but I don't see where the claims that he's the best or one of the best in the show come from. I tried to see it, but I just couldn't. Maybe his acting just doesn't speak to me, and I'm not claiming I'm like objectively right. But I felt nothing during that scene with Sunfire. And I kind of cringed when he started yelling as Sunfire was burning those people. Good representation of what it's like to be a woman in IT, I guess. Why was the High Septon even here? The Sept of Baelor is not even built. The seats are on the Starry Sept. Yeah, that's another thing. He wanted to run and never to be found. Going back to Tom Glencairn's performance. I also didn't think that the scene where he reacts to Jay Hirsch's death was as good as people were saying. Because like people were saying that it's like the best acting in the show. And I'm afraid this is the case of people thinking that good acting is when you scream a lot. If you look on YouTube for like best acting compilations, it will be people screaming. Like they will be screaming their lungs out. But I think you also have to be able to scream well. If you look at the scenes of Aegon's reaction to Jay Hirsch's death and the speech with Sunfire, I feel like they are very similar in terms of tone of the voice, even though he's supposed to express two different emotions. Almost like he approaches both with the same emotional register. And this may be directing, but no other emotion peeps through. For example, in Jay Harris's scene, he is angry, but not even a hint of despair. And in the Sunfire scene, it's just yelling when it should be more triumphant, more like he should be glazing himself, as opposed to that's what I mean. And the intonation is also like a bit off. In that scene of Jay Harris, he goes, "My son is my legacy," like a machine gun. And in this scene, it's the opposite. It's like, words are not emphasized, is what I mean. And this will get me biased allegations, but I honestly don't care. Look at how Emma Darcy does it. In the scene where Rhaenyra finds out about Jace's death, they're also screaming at some point, but there's emphasis. It's like, have you not betrayed your queen? If Tom did it, it would be like, have you not betrayed your queen? I hope this is like illustrative of what I mean, because I feel like I haven't been explaining myself so well. So yeah, I guess this is my second unpopular opinion of the evening. Like I said, I don't think he's bad, but he's also kind of going against two hydrogen bombs that are Emma Darcy and Matt Smith. I'm not sure if I can show you these scenes because I will probably be hit with copyright. But yeah, that's what I think about Aegon, and I'm not buying it. And I'm glad many people are not buying it either. Not as much as I hope, but sorry, it's just not working on me. Also, I'm not an actor, so that's just my subjective opinion. Because like good acting is also subjective. Yeah, like sometimes you can tell bad acting, but one man's bad acting will be another person's good acting. It's subjective. To his credit, though, the scene where he confronts Aemond in Harrenhal and he goes, "I'm alive," was funny as fuck. Not gonna lie here. Are we going to talk about Corlys? What the fuck are they doing? I don't have dedicated notes on Corlys because I kind of went over Corlys in my most recent video. But I will summarize what I said there. I don't know why, because in the book, Corlys and Rhaenyra do have conflict twice. And the first time they have conflict is when Rhaenys dies at Rook's Rest. And they have an argument. And Jace mends this by naming Corlys' hand. But Jace is dead, and Corlys did not blame Rhaenyra for Rhaenys' death. So they included this like artificial conflict with her refusing to legitimize Adam and Alan. And this is just an extension of what we spoke of, that Rhaenyra just has beef with everyone in her faction. Yeah, like why the fuck is Corlys at Tumbleton? I feel like he wasn't at Tumbleton in the book. Like, I'm 90% certain, but at this point, I'm just not sure what to believe. I forgot so many things because, I will have to do a reread so that I refresh everything. Yeah, like they removed everything that made Jace Jace. That's really unfortunate because they like Harry Collett, he jumped out of the book. He was perfect as Jace. They just made him into this petulant. Like, what the hell was that with? Because in the books, the red sewing was Jace's idea, but in the show, for whatever reason, they had him go, "No, we cannot give these bastards the dragons." And like, on some level, that was fair point, but why just remove everything that makes Jace Jace? Okay, can we move to the next section, or is there anything else you guys want to talk about in relation to Aegon? As of now, our poll is 15% people liked season 3 and 85% didn't. Well, you cannot say we do not have any variety whatsoever here. This is a happy place. Everyone is allowed their own opinions. Okay, so I guess we can move to the point I feel probably most strongly about, but I will be back in like 2 minutes, okay? Okay, I'm back, and I don't remember if I said this already, but I want to discuss something that I feel very strongly about. So I might get, you know, I will have like a little Mad Queen arc where I clash out and get female hysteria and all of that. So prepare. I want to talk about class politics in the show. There is a non-zero chance that I will make a separate video about this, or rather it will be like more like a podcast with 2 other people. where we will go in depth about class and class struggle in Westeros. Not just in Fire and Blood, but in the main series as well. For now, and this has changed somewhat because of the last episode. Because Ulf just went crazy. But we will mostly talk about Ulf before Tumbleton, okay? I'm like down in the books, I'm ready for the Mad Queen arc, yeah. Or rather, I don't know, I'm a dictator here. I really don't understand the perception people have about some low-born characters as if they're small folk champions, when in reality, they prioritize their own interests and do not care about the interests of the entire class. And yeah, this is a point I wanted to make about Ulf. And like I said, he kind of had a Mad King arc in the last episode, which, by the way, nobody is going to call him mad. But I want to discuss Ulf and his perception in the fandom prior to Tumbleton, because I still think it's applicable of like the broader issue that I see. Because for whatever reason, prior to Tumbleton, people of the Team Smallfolk variety were acting as if Ulf is like Westeros' Che Guevara, when in reality, he just wanted a castle for himself. That was his goal. He wanted a castle and like lordship. And people were seriously saying that if you don't support Ulf, if you don't like him and whatnot, you buy into like feudalist ideas about classism or like into classism or whatever. I didn't support Ulf because he's a bum and a class traitor who fights for his own interests. Real class consciousness would have had people recognize this as well. What was he doing that warrants treating him like a hero of the small folk, where all he was doing was trying to get class mobility? I don't know if anyone else like agrees with what I'm saying, if I explain myself enough, but besides, like, if you are not you're not required to like him or support him, and you're not unwoke if you don't. Yeah, I need to get this out of the way because like the propaganda was crazy as the show was airing. If you are not unwoke for not caring about the misogyny Rhaenyra was subjected to, then the same applies to Ulf and every other marginalized character, right? And that's the thing with this whole Team Smallfolk business. They glaze some nobles but not the others, and Team Smallfolk is like basically a synonym for I hate the Targaryens and think they are the only nobles in the story. And like everyone who goes against the Targaryens is woke. I would say that if we go like, you know, this psychoanalysis route as to why people like or dislike Ulf, like if people say that, oh, you dislike Ulf so you love feudalism, then I think that people who like Ulf would be the same in his place. If they had a chance at social mobility of any variety, they would take it in a heartbeat. If they got a dragon, they too would probably demand a castle rather than, I don't know, launch a peasant revolt. Not me though, I would be flying to a certain place, starting with I first thing in the morning. But like, it's either this or people virtue signal. And it's very easy to do when nobody thinks about who Ulf is and what he actually stands as a character for more than 2 seconds. And the same actually applies to Kristen Cole. He resents the nobles not because he has some class consciousness, but because he was personally mistreated by some of them. Period. All he wants to do is get into that the class of lords because his ass feels he's entitled to that because he has his dragon. Exactly. Are we getting Daeron burning Bitter Bridge now that Maelor doesn't exist? I would say no. I think they will cut it, just like they cut Aemond burning the Riverlands. Nobody in the show or the books is really Team Smallfolk. The fandom likes to pretend the Smallfolk are a huge plot point and they have big brain for not liking some nobles in the books about nobles. Exactly. Not saying Ulf started the Smallfolk needs to own the means of production revolution or anyone for that matter. Like Westeros is not even industrialized. Or like there was no meaningful peasant revolt. The storming of the Dragon Pit, it was just reactionary religious fanatics going off and like destroying the only defense King's Landing had. But that's right, like there are no many prominent Smallfolk characters. If they exist, they are like prologue or epilogue, or they achieve social like class advancement. Like even Dunk. Dunk was a commander, but then rose to become Lord Commander of the not the Night's Watch, Kingsguard. Like that's class mobility. It is a theme that, you know, the innocents suffer in the Game of Thrones, but like fundamentally this is a book about nobles, so why is it woke to like some but not the others? Again, like with so many characters on this show, it's hard for me to care what's going on because he feels so lifeless flat. That's true. What I do is basically I project book characters onto show characters. Like for example, I do this with Bela because the show is not giving me anything. Like she's actually my favorite character in the book and in the show as well, but that's just because I pretend that she is book Bela. The weird thing is that even though Rhaenyra wasn't cruel to Ulf, he didn't even ask her a castle, and she was right, armored assassins are literally in the city and his ass wants to be outside the Red Keep. Yeah, Rhaenyra was actually reasonable in that scene. It was actually kind of cute, that scene. Like, it was like, I don't remember how that went, but like, we need to protect you and your belly, something like that. She was like a mother grounding her teen son. And like, yeah, I guess Daemon beat him up, but then Ormond also beat him up, so okay. Melisandre with her singular chapter, yeah, and it's goated. One of the best chapters in the story. About Rhaena and the dragons, I do not understand what they were going for either because it is not at all uncommon to not have a dragon at her age. Rhaenyra is the youngest recorded dragon rider at 7, so that's unusual. And also, but that's also, you know, some characters they have dragon eggs placed in their cribs. And some of them hatch, some of them not. But like when a dragon hatches, you also need several years before he's big enough to be ridden, or she. And when you claim an existing dragon, you usually do this as a teen. Lena was quite small when she claimed Vhagar. I think she was 12. But like Daemon, I think Daemon claimed Caraxes when he was 16. But suddenly it's a problem that his daughter, who is like only 2 years younger than when he was back then, does not have a dragon and she feels worthless. Like, what are they doing? Like, this conflict is so artificial. But going back to Team Smallfolk. So Ulf went crazy in Templeton because Ormond played him for a fool. And all of a sudden, these class-conscious fans are silent. Why? Because they can no longer use him for that narrative because he's irredeemable now. Like he was doing, like there were like intentional callbacks to Daenerys burning King's Landing in season 8. You can especially see it with camera work. So they can no longer use him, and there will be no word about what ultimately set him off, and that was Ormond, because Ormond is not a Targaryen, and then the narrative that the Targaryens are the only aristocrats in the story falls apart. And notice that this whole small folk business does not really apply to everyone, because nobody seems to have the same empathy for Mesaria, who is an actual commoner. And a woman of color. She is a She is a survivor of attempted femicide. She said in season 2 that she was, raped by her dad, and he tried to kill her when she got pregnant. And contrary to Ulf, Mesaria, however flawed her methods were, because she was not really competent in her job, she was actually trying to use her position to improve the lives of commoners. But for whatever reason, you have that woman, I forgot her name, the woman that Aemon was in the brothel with in season 2. I don't remember her name, sorry. She condemns Mesaria, while you show up to a certain point, like, validated Ulf's resentment. And none of those class consciousness fans defend Mesaria, even though she's really hated in the fandom. Either both Mesaria and Ulf are class traitors or none. You can't pick and choose. Yeah, absolutely. Team Smallfolk is Team Green in disguise. I feel like everyone has a team. Like, even if you say, oh no, I am Team Neutral, oh, I am Team Smallfolk, deep inside you are one of the teams. Can I get your take on the dragon fight in episode 7? People have been saying that this is apparently proof that only Daemon deserves to ride, that Seasmoke and Cyrax protecting their riders equals no control. I wish I knew what to say about this, because it was so stupid. I don't know what was the purpose, like everyone jumping ships there. I mean, the show already has established that, the idea that we control the dragons is an illusion. And yeah, that's dumb, but it definitely does, like Cyrax and Seasmoke jumping to defend the riders. It does not mean no control, and I'm pretty sure that Caraxes also acted to defend Daemon at some point. If they wanted characters that would be small folk champions, why not expand Sylvana and Essie's role? Exactly. I don't think there will be the Moon of Madness. Like, there's just no space for the Moon of Madness. Mel even looks sympathetically and pity at man who tried to poison her. I could never, yeah. Team Smallfolk feels like the enlightened centrists who don't vote because everyone is the same. Meanwhile, you have literal fascists on the ballot. Kind of. Team Smallfolk are like those people in TV shows who wear a small mask around the eyes during a masquerade ball, and somehow they think nobody knows who they are. Exactly. Someone in my comments, I don't remember who that was, like, I remember some of the more common commenters, but someone said that they called Team Smallfolk Team Smokescreen. Sorry, I don't know why I can't pronounce words correctly. I guess my mind just runs too fast. I'm on team by the end of season 4. Most people will hate this show the way they hate season 8. I hope so. But I don't know. I looked at the ratings and the last episode was rated quite high, but that's also because there was a battle. And the previous episodes were like, on IMDb, I mean, were like 7.5. You know, at its peak, Game of Thrones never went below 8.5, I think. They're not Team Smallfolk when it's the War of the Five Kings. Yeah, and I want to talk about this. Someone on Twitter, sorry, I read so many tweets, I don't remember who said that. said that people conflate the theme of the War of the Five Kings with the Dance of the Dragons. And like, yeah, there is a theme in the Dance of the Dragons of like war being bad and feudalism being bad. But the central theme of the Dance of the Dragon is misogyny. People hate to hear this, but that's just true. In the show, the show's story is almost completely divorced from Rhaenyra's sex. Like we talked about this before with that Ace with a Pencil tweet. People also make continuous attempts to divorce it from Fire and Blood as well, because oh no, both sides are equally bad, blah blah blah. And I talked to my friend about this, about how misogyny is always considered an issue of secondary, minor, or even no importance. There's always something more important, and this whole oh no, war is bad, feudalism is bad, blah 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 blah, that's just like the expression of it. And House of the Dragon fans act like this too, and I can't fully blame them because the show feeds them this narrative, but nobody actually sits down and questions it. Everyone is like, oh, the story is a criticism of feudalism and monarchy. And my question is, how many countries in the world today are feudalist? How many countries in today's world are like actual monarchies? In the sense that, you know, in Sweden you have monarchy, but it's representative. You have like the government. You know, I guess like Saudi Arabia is a monarchy technically. But like, I mean, how many countries have feudalism? How many countries are like genuine monarchies? Not many. But people act like monarchy and feudalism are such pressing issues that we have to criticize. And then the question for you, in how many countries is misogyny a problem? I would say in all of them. I would say it's an issue in every single country, including the West, because even in the West, they are rolling women's rights back. In the US, they openly started talking about taking away women's right to vote. The sentiments about women's unfitness to rule, that never went away. You will still hear that women are too emotional and incompetent to rule to this day, and that they should be confined to the domestic sphere to be breeding slaves. This rhetoric is on the rise and has been for years. So what I'm asking is, why are women always sacrificed at the altar of other causes? Why take a story about misogyny and go, actually misogyny doesn't matter, it's about how feudalism and monarchy is the worst pressing issue. Where is it the pressing issue? Nowhere. But misogyny is a problem everywhere. Misogyny gets like this first world problems treatment when it is a global problem, and it is in the global south where like femicide, child marriage, female genital mutilations that runs rampant. So like, I can imagine that there are like women in the global south who, for whatever reason, are treated worse, for whatever reason have their inheritance denied because they are women, and they see resonance with Rhaenyra. And they are robbed even off of that. Because it's more important that we criticize feudalism and monarchy. These are the most pressing issues in our world. The Song of Ice and Fire fandom is a fantastic argument about why ending class conflict doesn't and will never end issues like misogyny. Somehow women have to be a bit patient while we do gay luxury space communism. Yeah, that's the problem. That's the problem. Because of this rhetoric that, you know, misogyny, you know, not now, focus on the bigger cause. I don't remember. There's like a problem in organizing spaces with sexual violence, with misogyny, with sexual harassment, and women are like always expected to swallow it in the name of a bigger cause. And like I cannot help but see the parallels. Like we can say, oh, it's just a stupid story about dragons, but like we're not free from this, even in a stupid story about dragons. Even in a stupid story about dragons, we are told it doesn't matter. What matters is that some guy didn't get a castle. What matters is that, I don't know, dragons are nukes or whatever the fuck else they are coming up with this season. I have immigrant friends who can't go visit their relatives without risking being honor killed. Yeah. So yeah, that was my Mad Queen arc going on. And of course, I'm a Mad Queen because I'm a woman who's angry about something. I'm an elected worker representative. It's the same bullshit sexism even from the woke progressive men who are supposed to be on my team. Yeah. There's this quote by Dworkin about how right-wing men think that women should be private property and left-wing men think that women should be public property. Exactly. There's just always something more important. The Mad King arc must continue. Thank you for being honest about how terrible the fandom is regarding sexism. The problem is that it is, the sexism and misogyny in the fandom is frustrating, but it's just the reflection of the real world, unfortunately. Why in every finale they must have Allison stare off into the distance. Um, I have Allison prepared to be spoken about at the very end. She's just so aimless as a character. Okay, let's jump to Alicent, okay? Because I wanted to talk about Kristen Cole now. But okay, let's talk about Alicent. She is such an aimless character, and this has been true about her since season 2. Everyone says that it's normal because in the book, Alicent doesn't have much to do in the war. But why do people flip flop in between? This is an adaptation, so shut up and stop complaining. And well, they couldn't do anything with her because that's how it is in the books. Aren't these guys supposed to expand upon the material? Because people constantly tell me that Condell and his team flesh out everything, but that's just not happening. Like they even, oh god, I just remembered something from this episode. Do you remember how Gwen told Daemon when they were negotiating with Corlys about splitting Westeros? In the books, that was Alicent's idea. She was the one who suggested it. And they gave it to fucking Wayne, who, by the way, overstayed his welcome. What do you think about institutional misandry? I don't think it exists, sorry. The best part of the last episode was the fact that we didn't get any pointless Alicent scene beyond the butterfly one. In Ukraine, where men are conscripted by force to defend their country in a war they didn't ask for, and who set that system up? They should have done a better job at setting up the younger generations in season 1 by leveraging Chase. Yeah, exactly. Like, I guess that doesn't matter because they 100% ending the story on Aegon and Jaehaera's marriage. Okay, I really don't have anything to say about Alison beyond what people said, like this constant sexual assault subjected to her character. Like, I don't want to talk about this, sorry. Let's talk about Kristen Cole. So, Sir Insolent Cole finally bites the dust, and I think I know how I want to celebrate the life of this absolute lion, the best character in the show, the greatest warrior Westeros has ever seen, the wokest, most progressive character. I'm laughing to the bang, I'm laughing at the same. Okay, I cannot show you any more of this video because it's gonna get hit with a copyright. Oh my god, I forgot about this voiceover. I'm so sorry, Zork. I'm gonna try to do it this month, okay? Honestly, Kristen this season gave me the vibe of the dudes that killed their entire families. Because he was like, I want to die in glory, so let me lead all of these people to their deaths, and I don't care what they think about it. I want death and glory, so I guess everyone else just has to adjust to it. I understand what they were going for with the way his death was portrayed. It was intentionally anticlimactic, and conceptually, I get it. But it almost felt too anticlimactic. And I think it was the placement. I think they should have placed his death by the end of the episode. No music. Or like, you know what they should do? You know how in season 3, I think it was, where Jaime has his hand cut off? And the credits have like this rock music playing. That's what they should do. Rest in peace, Bozo. I just think it would pace the episode better if the death was at the end. Like, conceptually, I get it. They wanted his death to be undignified, but it just, I don't know, I think they overdone it. Yeah, about the song quote. Why did they have him say in one episode they will sing songs about it? I was certain that this is a setup for I will have no songs about how brave you died, Kingmaker. It felt like such an obvious setup, but then just nobody said it. Why? But they did include this speech about building the sept from the bones of the dead, so why not include that? I'm kind of surprised at how widely hated this guy was. Because, like, there were always Kristen shooters because he's played by an attractive actor. And the unfortunate thing is that his misogyny is alluring for some people. Like, some people, obviously incels will go, oh yeah, he's so relatable, I also want to kill women. But, like, some women have this I can fix him mentality, I think, ultimately. Or, like, he's a misogynist to everyone but me. I don't know. It's just delusional. He did have shooters, but he was like really hated by casuals, by every normal person. Let's be honest, because there's just nothing interesting about him. Like he's kind of like he's grooming Rhaenyra, yeah, but that's also not addressed, yeah. He's Rhaenyra's friend. They have sex. He crashes out. Like, think about what Kristen could have had if he accepted the deal to be Rhaenyra's side piece. Here he is, a son of a steward, and his sons would be sitting the Iron Throne if he accepted the position to be Rhaenyra's side piece. But he just crashed out and once again broke his vows with another queen, beat some guy to death for no reason. It was just so unpleasant to watch. The thing about him being Dornish is so crazy because I'm pretty sure I know what happened. So, House Cole is from the Dornish marches. And Ryan Condal looked at Dornish marches and thought that Dornish marches are in Dorne. When in actuality, the Dornish marches are in the Stormlands. Kristen Cole is a Stormlander, and the Stormlands don't like Dorne a lot. And all we see of Black Allies may be felines and nothing for Ben. They merged Ben with Oscar, I think, and that's crazy because they keep forgetting that the general audience doesn't know who the fuck these people are supposed to be. They do not know that this guy that was played by Chips from Sons of Anarchy, that this is Roddy the Ruin. He was a Dustin, right? I need to check. Roddy the Ruin. Roderick Dustin, yeah. They think that this is some Stark guy. Black Ally was not named. They do not know who she is because they forget that, book readers will know that this is Black Ally, but people who never touch the books will not. And that is the majority of the audience. Like, I imagine that people who never read the books are like, who the fuck is she supposed to be? Who is this guy? Did you watch Sons of Anarchy? I watched halfway through the first season. And then I stopped because I couldn't focus. But it's definitely on my to-watch list, and Chips was my favorite character during this time. Kristen being called Dornish feels like it was the Westerosi equivalent on someone doing a DNA test and bragging that they 2% Brazilian or something. It's also crazy because Fabian Frankel, who plays Kristen, his grandmother was an Iraqi Jew. And everyone else in his family was like Italian or something. So I don't feel really comfortable talking about this, but that does not make him Iraqi, right? He's British. I wouldn't say he's... Why do people act like he's a man of color? I don't think he is. And people were like, you are racist if you don't like Kristen. I don't like him because he's an incel. He's an unpleasant person to be around. He's a... I'm sorry, does anyone else feel like this? Yeah, exactly. The calls are like petty nobility. People try to do with Kristen what they try to do with Ulf. Like they stack those oppressed identities and categories he may belong to, and on this basis you're like not allowed to hate him because he's this and that and the other thing. No, you don't have to like any of these people. Like, I'm sorry, especially people do not dislike Kristen because he's Dornish or his character or his actor had like an Iraqi grandma. They dislike him because he's a horrible person. Okay? Which is also crazy because you will have like blatantly racist writing against Reina and Bela, who are actually played by black actresses, and it's crickets. You know, all women are inherently bourgeois, so we cannot defend them. Like, I even saw someone say that Kriston's death is racist because he's part Arab and he's killed by an actress that's allegedly a Zionist. That is a real sentence I read about Kriston's death. Like, this feels like a massive reach to me. Like, even if the actress that plays Black Ali is a Zionist, she is such a small actress, and that this has like no bearing on the plot. What the heck is her name? Black Ali actress. Annie Shapiro. Is an Australian actress. She has appeared in the television series Annie Shapiro on Instagram. Come on, she has 12,000 followers. Hot Twitter is when it Paul gets a bad rep. Alicent can be a wishy-washy bad person because she's actually a closeted lesbian. Kriston is cool because he's apparently a person of color. We're in hell. That would imply that the writers have the brains to think of something like that, lol. I also feel like part of this was like a reaction because people were saying that it's relevant that Kriston was a misogynist and was killed by a woman. So they had to like overcorrect. Well, actually, this woman is this and that. I mean, not even this woman, like the actress that plays her that nobody has ever heard of has like. I'm not able to find anything about her being a Zionist on her Instagram. Like, I think it may be the case. I'm not saying it's not. It's just I just have no idea how did anyone found out about this, and like these are things that you should actually verify, right? The worst people bring up Palestine in the most unrelated scenarios to prove a damn point. Yeah, exactly. Like, it pisses me off so much when people are like turning Palestine into Stan War. Well, my favorite celebrity posted a ceasefire now story on Instagram, so they are pro-Palestine, and your favorite celebrity did not post ceasefire now on their Instagram story, so your favorite celebrity is a Zionist, and I'm woker than you for liking my celebrity. The only way to be meaningfully pro-Palestine is to believe in one-state solution for Palestine. We are way past this whole ceasefire now. There's been a ceasefire for like a year or so at this point, and they're still murdering Palestinians and have been genociding them for almost 80 years. We are way past that. They must think Black Alice actress is a Zionist because she has a Jewish surname. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if that was the reasoning. Like, I'm not able to find any, like I said, I'm not saying that this is not true, it's just that I'm not able to find anything, and like, it's such a reach to begin with. Okay, and short break again. Alright, I'm gonna put on some music and go for a cigarette. Okay, I'm back. We will be wrapping up soon. We have Ormond, Aemond and Alice, and Bias to talk about. Okay, I think we can figure this out. And also, I have an addendum. Annie Shapiro, the actress who portrays Black Ali, she did star in like an Israeli TV show. So I guess this is where this was coming from. And mea culpa, I didn't know this. Okay, Ormond, Daeron, Fake Daeron, and Tableton. That's the next issue we will tackle. Ormond is basically Team Green Jesus. They introduce him as like the only truly evil green character and outsource all of the sins of the faction onto him. He's essentially a scapegoat. And even then, some people like blame other people for the shit he did because they had him use kids as human shields, and they are like somehow blaming this on Damon. Hello, Sayas. Fake Daeron is one of the stupidest inventions of this show, and there is quite a competition. I don't think it was necessary at all, but if they had to do it, then at least make it make sense. There's just no way that nobody knows that Daeron doesn't have silver hair. I get that they don't have Instagram in Westeros, but come on. It's also just absurd that apparently he was fostered as like a newborn baby. That's not how it works. Like, I don't know a lot about newborns, but I feel like there needs to be like a period where the newborn is like with his mom, right? Like at least a year or so. And then people would see that he has brown hair and not silver hair, right? And there's just no way that Ormond managed to bleach that kid's hair into perfect silver, purple conditioner, and no roots. I had bleached hair at some point, I know what I'm talking about. It's not easy to maintain even in today's day and age. Much less in fucking medieval Westeros. And if Daemon has brown hair, then why lie? Why hadn't Daemon clocked that something isn't right when Tessarion didn't follow Daeron? And if you insist on silver hair, then why not make that dude a dragon seed? You can even repurpose him later. Have him be like, I don't know, some bastard child running around, I don't know, or some kid from Liz, or whatever. It's also wild to cast a trans actor for a pretty major role and then go, surprise, he won't actually play that part. Whatever happened to that kid later, we don't know. So many characters just disappear from the story. I don't know what was the purpose of this. I guess it's just to show that Daemon is stupid. And you can say a lot about Daemon, but stupid is not one of them. And while the Ormond and Daeron dynamic is pretty interesting, I would say, Daeron is such a fraud. Why are they calling him Daeron the Daring when they removed the battle where he received that moniker? Was that at Honeywine? I think it was in Honeywine. Like, he's just randomly called Daeron the Daring even though he did nothing. Like, we didn't even see him on Tessarion. He didn't do anything during that battle. What was the purpose of his character? I feel like they wanted to cut him, but George or whoever said no, and they like had to work him in the story, but they didn't know what to do with him. I don't know. how does this affect the Daenerys from the books? What affects Daenerys in the books? Could you be more specific? Does Tormund, Damas, things, House Hightower is an Andal house? To be honest, I also thought that the Hightowers are the Andals, but apparently they are first men. But like, they are pretty Andalized, I would say, in that they are like the patrons of the most Andal institutions in Westeros, that being the Faith and the Maesters. I think the Hightowers were like, when the Andals came, I think they were like the first to convert to the Faith of the Seven to not start shit. Like, capitalized off of that immediately. I guess that's all I have to say about Ormond and Daeron, because like this fake Daeron plot was so annoying. Wait, I have to close the window. I don't know, like I don't have anything else to say about this. Tumbleton, like I said at the beginning, is cool as a battle sequence if you turn your brain off. Are you going to talk about the play about the Mad King? Not unless I get the script. Because the only way for me to know something about this play is from like information for people who watched it. And like the initial wave of spoilers, people were disagreeing because like it's from the people who are there. Some people will focus on one thing, some on the other, and already the second screening had like some changes. So like I cannot talk about something that I cannot verify if it's true. That's why I probably won't talk about this. Yeah, like what was the purpose of this dynamic if Ormond just dies? And like another thing is that Gwaine overstayed his welcome to a significant degree. I guess the second to last thing I want to talk about is Aemond and Alice. And I actually want to start with the fact that how much the annihilation of House Strong was downplayed in the show. And to be fair, this was pointed out to my friend yesterday. We don't talk about the annihilation of House Strong in the books nearly as much as we should. We have like endless appeals to blood and cheese, but yeah, and it was horrific, right? Blood and cheese. But Aemond barges into Harrenhal and kills everyone of House Strong, aside from Alice. Just murders everyone, no discrimination. Briefly going back to Tumbleton, them deleting the fact that the green straight people of Tumbleton, John Roxton killing Lord Footley and raping his wife, but of course House the blacks are whitewashed, not the greens. Yeah, and they also low-key made Tumbleton the blacks' fault. Like, why is Daemon considered the devil incarnate for ordering blood and cheese? But Aemond killed an entire house and nobody talks about it. And in the show, he kills like 3 dudes in total, and not with as much sadism, because like in the book he challenged Sir Simon Strong to a duel and like hacked him to pieces. As for Alice and Damon, it feels like one episode they meet and the next episode they are in love. Why? Because that's a plot point from the book, even though, in the book it wasn't a love story. He was, he took her as a prize of war, which is like exclusively used in the context of war rape. So yeah, there's also that. And like this whole bullshit backstory that they gave her. Get this, guys. Apparently, Alice was the wife of Harren the Black. And it's so sad because Aegon the Conqueror killed her son. The son she had with one of the most despicable people in the history of that wretched continent. Harren the Black was an Ironborn, and he was running a slave camp in Harrenhal. To the point that the Rivermen went to Aegon and said, "You have to kill this guy." Alice was a wife of a slaver. I do not feel sorry for him, I do not feel sorry for her, and I can already imagine, because they announced the Conquest movie. And I am willing to bet all of my savings on this. They're going to make Harren the Black a victim. Like, oh no, he just wanted a cool castle and those evil foreign colonizers ruin it. And the thing about it is that Harren the Black was an actual colonizer. And you can, in earnest, I say this with zero irony, Aegon aided the Riverlands anti-colonial struggle against Harren the Black. This is just what happened. She was probably a salt wife. I'm not sure, with the way she spoke about it, I got the impression, because she said something like she was stripped of her titles, so I would say she was a rock wife. This was this was the Westeros Gwaine said was at peace before the evil Targaryens attacked. Fucking slave camp in the Riverlands to build this monstrosity of a castle. Yeah, I do slavery, but what about the Targaryen colonizers? Checkmate, liberal. Aegon also aided. There was like, before the conquest, he aided the Free Cities against Volantis, also trying to like wage war on everyone. And like Volantis is the actual successor of Valyria. So yeah, there's more truth in Aegon being an anti-colonial hero than him being a colonizer. I do want to say that Aegon being called more sympathetic when he laughs like a supervillain while burning people may be the craziest thing I've heard. We talked about this, and that's a good point. Like, imagine if Rhaenyra or Daenerys did any of this shit. I guess that's all I have to say about Alice and Aemond. And also, they also removed Aemond burning the Riverlands for no reason. Apparently, it's just like Vhagar doing it on her own. Vhagar is burning the Riverlands by accident, guys. I wanted to talk about like bias and all of that, but I feel like it's only tangentially related to what we're discussing, so I'm not sure if I should end this stream or talk about it, because I feel like I'm running out of brain capacity here. I'm actually surprised that I managed to talk about as many things as I did. We don't control the dragon sets of my autistic ass. They do control them in the books. No problem, except Silverwing at the wall, Dragon in the pit, and Sunfire hesitating. Oh my god, I didn't even notice there's like a ranking of who talks the most in the chat. Zork is first, Sayas is second, Mil Norok is third. Congratulations. Sorry for shifting from topic, but why are they even making a big deal out of Rhaenyra attacking Templeton as a science she's maker when show Aemon literally burns Shard Point and its arbor? I guess it's because when Rhaenyra does something, it's reflective of her entire faction, her entire ideology, and like women as a whole. But when men do this, it doesn't apply. Wait, let me look at my notes. No, I don't feel like I have anything meaningful to say. Maybe I will make like a video about bias in House of the Dragon and Fire and Blood and whatever, because like this is actually an interesting thing to ponder. Like, is there bias? Because I think there is and there isn't at the same time, and it's very complicated. So I guess it will be it from me for today. Thank you guys. We had 30 people at the peak. I didn't expect so many people to come. Maybe that's not a lot for like YouTube standards or live stream standards, but that's a lot to me. And I actually had fun. I spoke about almost everything I wanted to speak about. We had really interesting conversations in the chat. As for the poll, 65 people voted. Whoa. And 15% liked House of the Dragon Season 3, while 85% did not like it. Now you should have the results. Thank you for voting, thank you for commenting, thank you for watching. I enjoyed hearing your takes. Yeah, I enjoyed hearing you guys' takes as well. Yeah, it was fun. We had fun. I didn't even get like distracted or sidetracked. It's a miracle. But yeah, we will be finishing now. Once again, thank you guys for coming, listening, contributing, or like even just listening in the background. And I will probably take this stream and edit it and post it as highlights, because there was like a lot of things we raised up that I think should be in a separate video. Yes, and the Mad Queen arc continues. Rest in peace, Pashroom. Yes, more streams in the future. We will see. We will see, and it's almost midnight where I am, so good night. Have a nice summer. I don't know what else I should say. Let's just say goodbye, and for the 5th or 6th time, thank you all. Free Palestine.